In just 10 minutes, unlock the most explosive insights from Joe Rogan's conversation with mental coach Brandon Epstein. These 10 takeaways reveal how subconscious fear is holding you back, why mental training is still undervalued, how belief shapes your body, and why supplements, weed, and psychedelics may be changing your brain. Takeaway 1. Subconscious fear controls your body. Brandon Epstein explains that many people are held back not by physical limits, but by subconscious fears they don't even know they have. These fears can show up as anxiety, hesitation, or even physical pain. He shares how UFC fighter Sean Brady believed he was unbeatable until one loss shattered that identity. After the fight, Brady's nervous system was flooded with doubt. Brandon guided him through deep emotional work to rebuild his belief system. They didn't just talk about confidence, they rewired it at the body level using hypnosis, breathwork, and nervous system clearing. For example, Brandon worked with a minor league pitcher who had a recurring hip injury that physical therapy couldn't fix. Once they uncovered a hidden fear of moving up to the major leagues, the pain disappeared. Joe Rogan adds that many fighters fear success itself, worrying they won't be able to maintain it. That fear can lead to self-sabotage even when everything seems to be going well. Brandon says there are only about 10 core beliefs that create fear in athletes, and most of them are irrational but deeply rooted. These fears often show up right before a breakthrough moment, like moving up a division or facing a top-ranked opponent. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2. Fighters must rebuild after identity collapse. Joe and Brandon discuss how elite fighters often build their entire identity around being unbeatable. When they lose, it's not just a fight, it's a collapse of who they think they are. Brandon helped Sean Brady recover from this by clearing emotional scar tissue and rebuilding his belief system. They talk about imposter syndrome, where fighters start winning but secretly believe they don't deserve it. For example, Brandon explains how some athletes have a mental governor that stops them from reaching the next level. They might win a few fights, but deep down they fear success and sabotage themselves. Joe adds that some fighters waste energy arguing with strangers online just to protect their fragile self-image, instead of focusing on training and recovery. Brandon says the key is to help fighters become matter-of-fact about their setbacks, so they don't spiral emotionally and lose momentum. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3, belief shapes your physical reality. Brandon says your beliefs act like a filter for how you experience the world. If you believe you're strong and capable, your body responds with power and confidence. If you believe you're weak or unlucky, your body tightens up and underperforms. He shares how he used belief work to help Sean Brady feel unbeatable again. For example, Brandon helped a client with performance anxiety by guiding him through breathing and visualization exercises that made him feel grounded and strong before stepping into the ring. Joe adds that belief is like a code that shapes your emotions, and those emotions drive your actions. Brandon emphasizes that belief is not just mental, it's felt in the body and can be rewired through deep emotional work. He says that most people don't realize their beliefs are shaping their entire experience, even when those beliefs are outdated or harmful. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4, mental training is still undervalued. Despite its power, mental coaching is often ignored until athletes hit a crisis. Brandon says most fighters don't seek help because they fear being seen as weak. He compares his work to what Cus D'Amato did for Mike Tyson, building belief and clearing emotional blocks. For example, Brandon helped Chris Weidman feel mentally stronger than ever before his comeback fight, even though his physical recovery was still ongoing. Joe points out that many fighters don't even know where to start when their confidence is shattered, and that rebuilding the mind is just as important as healing the body. Brandon says the process requires deep trust and emotional intimacy, and that he often knows his clients better than anyone else except their wives. He also explains that vulnerability is not weakness, it's the doorway to strength. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5, visualization boosts real strength. Joe and Brandon discuss studies showing that mental training alone can increase muscle strength. One study had athletes visualize hip flexor exercises and gain nearly the same strength as those who physically trained. Brandon uses this method with fighters during camp, wiring their subconscious to feel confident in the fight setting. For example, a study showed that athletes who visualized bicep curls gained as much strength as those who physically performed them, and those who combine both methods gain the most. Brandon also shares how he used visualization and breathing techniques to increase his bench press during college football, even before touching the weights. He says visualization is not just about seeing success, it's about feeling it in the body and training the nervous system to expect it. We're halfway through the video. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're enjoying it, hit the thumbs up and share it in your WhatsApp groups. If you'd like to support us, please tap the thanks button below. It helps us keep making great content. Drop a comment and don't forget to hit subscribe for more. Now let's continue with the video. Takeaway 6. The medical system is profit-driven. Joe and Brandon criticize how pharmaceutical companies often prioritize profits over patient health. They talk about how studies are manipulated, side effects are hidden, and doctors are incentivized to prescribe unnecessary medications. Brandon shares how a doctor tried to put him on a subscription plan for thyroid medication, even though his blood levels hadn't changed. For example, he was told he had to come in every 3 months just to keep getting the same medication, which made him realize the system was more about money than healing. Joe adds that many doctors are pressured by corporate goals to increase profits every quarter, which affects the care they provide and leads to overprescription. Brandon says this experience pushed him to find natural ways to heal his body and take control of his health. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7. Supplements are often contaminated. Joe Rogan shares how his company Onnit discovered that many supplements were tainted with steroids or other substances due to poor manufacturing practices. Even reputable-looking products on Amazon may be fake. For example, Joe stopped buying supplements from Amazon after learning that up to 30% of them were counterfeit, and now only buys directly from trusted companies like Pure Encapsulations. He explains that some factories mix vitamins in the same bins used for steroids, leading to cross-contamination that can ruin careers and health. Brandon adds that many athletes unknowingly take contaminated supplements and get flagged for banned substances. He says the supplement industry is like the Wild West, and athletes need to be extremely careful about what they put in their bodies. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8. Alternative healing can be powerful. Brandon talks about using breathwork, chakra alignment, and red light therapy to heal his hypothyroidism naturally. He met a neuroscientist who taught him how to breathe energy through meridians in the body, which helped him feel stronger and more grounded. For example, he used red light therapy on his thyroid and followed a strict elimination diet, eventually stopping his medication after his body rejected it. He also cut out caffeine and focused on calming his nervous system, which helped reverse the stress response that triggered his condition. Brandon says healing is not just physical, it's emotional and energetic, and the body responds when you treat it holistically. Joe adds that many people underestimate the power of simple tools like breathing and stretching to transform their health. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9. Weed affects people differently. Joe and Brandon discuss how marijuana can help some people manage anxiety, pain, and even brain inflammation, while others may feel paranoid or disconnected. Brandon shares a study where his brain function improved after smoking weed, showing a neuroprotective effect. For example, Navy SEAL Robert O'Neill, who killed bin Laden, uses cannabis to sleep and manage stress, challenging the stereotype that weed makes people lazy. Joe adds that for some people, weed makes them more thoughtful and creative, while others should avoid it entirely. Brandon says it's about knowing your own biology and using tools that work for you. He also explains that weed helped him feel more connected to his body during training, making his movements more fluid and precise. Now let's move to the last takeaway. Takeaway 10. Psychedelics can reset your identity. Brandon describes how a Bufo toad experience gave him a full ego death, helping him separate from limiting beliefs and see life more clearly. Joe adds that psychedelics can be dangerous if misused, especially by people already struggling mentally. For example, Brandon says that after his psychedelic experience, he was able to help clients release deep emotional blocks through hypnosis and NLP more effectively. He believes that psychedelics should be used carefully and only after building a strong foundation of mental and physical health. Joe agrees that some people lose their grip on reality after too many psychedelic trips and start redefining the world in unhealthy ways. Brandon says the key is to use these tools with intention and respect, not as shortcuts or escapes. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support this channel, hit the thanks button below. It really helps us keep going. If you enjoyed this summary, please leave a like and share it in your WhatsApp groups. To join discussion about this video, drop a comment below. And for more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below.